Welcome back to the Catapult Effect podcast. I am your host, Katie Wrigley. In part one of this episode, Laura Horwig walked us through the 3 steps to activating your intuition. Listen, trust, and take action. We talked about how signs show up in the most unexpected places, from literal billboards to license plates to 7 bald eagles circling overhead, and why acting on those nudges is what makes your guides keep sending them. In part 2, we're getting practical. Laura shares her favorite self-regulation tools, why our homes and habits might be working against us, and how to build real resilience in this wild world. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Catapult Effect podcast. I'm Katie Wrigley, neuroscience coach and entrepreneur. This podcast is for high-performing leaders who look capable on the outside, but know the pressure of carrying too much alone. Each week, we explore the internal and external systems that create real ease, from nervous system regulation to delegation and smarter support. If you're ready to build in a way that feels steady and sustainable, you're in the right place. Welcome back to the Catapult Effect podcast. We are continuing the conversation with Laura Horwig, and in case you missed part 1, we did a deep dive into the intuition, how you can start to find signs for yourself, and how that can actually translate into more ease in your everyday life. And as we were wrapping up part 1, Laura started to talk about the importance of self-regulation, and one of the simple things you can do is start your day doing a short meditation practice. It doesn't have to be long, but we're going to dive more into that self-regulation, the importance of it, and how to build resilience in this crazy world that we have going. So come join us. We're going to pick that up. So thank you again for being here with me, Laura. So I want to continue this path of self-regulation. And I think I brought this up in another episode when we were talking about these foundational pieces that we want to get in, which really is self-regulation as you're talking about it. And there's a quote that comes to mind from Krishnamurti, which is, "It is no measure of success to be well, or no measure of health to be well adjusted to a supremely unhealthy society."
I love the guy. Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I love that quote. And I actually included in my book. But one of the things that the convenience of society and all these devices is it's pulling us away from these things that we used to do for regulation. So we already talked about quickly, like starting to get into just starting your day with a meditation and how that can change your entire energy for the day. What are some other pieces that you would recommend that people start to lace in to help themselves get more regulated, Laura?
one of the best and the easiest things to do. And now that the weather's finally starting to change for most of us, at least in the northern hemisphere, is being outside, being in nature. I
Mhm.
love the Japanese term. They call it now forest bathing. It's really being in nature. And the more wilderness like, I shall say, that you can get into, the better the energy. But even if it's only in your backyard, at a community park, on a trail, whatever it is, just being outside. Okay. Because one of the biggest things now is our homes are so, I was going to say poisoned, and they sort of stopped me, but I am going to say poisoned because it's the electronics, the
Mhm.
chemicals, everything. Our homes are just become almost toxic waste dumps. They really have. And even if you're trying to be as natural and as aware of these things and have as little of this in your home as possible, honestly, these days it's almost impossible unless you live in a cabin in the woods. Okay. So being outside and being around trees and being around plants and being in nature and having the sun shine on you and the breeze blow around and the air, okay, at least you know, it depends on where you live, but honestly, usually not they're saying 99%, okay, 98% of the time they're saying the air outside is much better, much healthier than the air inside your home,
Yeah.
regardless of where you live. Okay. So yes. So fresh air, sunshine, and the energetic effect of trees and plants and the grounding effect of actually being on the earth. So
Mhm.
there's your clue too. You don't want to be on a sidewalk. It's better than not being outside at all. But if you can get on a trail, a dirt trail, there's that wonderful thing that makes sure at least some of your roads are dirt or something. There's a good a good saying about that too. And in as the weather warms, if you can be walking around on the grass or whatever, on the beach or whatever, in your bare feet, it's even better.
Yes. Yes.
Even better, because then we're getting into the earthing and all that wonderful stuff. So that's a huge one. The other one is activity, and I'm using the word activity as opposed to exercise. Because as soon as I say exercise, people think, "Oh, I gotta go to the gym for 3 hours or whatever." No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about active physical activity. And this is, it's called self-regulation. So guess what? You get to choose what you use. I
Nice.
like you get to choose what you use.
Let's write that down.
Anyway, yeah, so whether it's walking, whether it's dancing, whether it's yoga, whether it's, tai chi, I don't care what movement it is, but just move your body, okay? We really need, and in our cultures, there's Western cultures especially, we're simply not moving enough. We spend way too much time doing what we're doing right now, is like sitting with our butts in chairs.
Mhm.
And anything you can do that gets your butt out of a chair and your body actually moving and stretching. Because, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you're over the age, what am I going to use? Okay, 50. If you're over the age of, nah, I'm just checking because they always get their 5 cents in there. Okay, they said 45. Okay. So especially if you're over the age of 45, okay, you need to be moving your body. You really need to be moving your body because, and the other side of it is a lot of people don't realize this, but we hold a huge amount of negative energy in our muscles and our joints. Okay. So if you're not doing something to activate and stretch your body and move your muscles and move your joints, those negative, it's really hard to release those negative energies. And just simply going for a 10 or a 15-minute walk can release a huge amount of negative energy. The other good one, okay, this one you don't even have to leave home for, is water. And people, okay, I would stay away from baths. Okay, we can go into why if you want, but showers are the key. Okay, if you're at home, when you're at home, I always recommend to my clients, if you come home from work or if you've been out and you come home and you feel horrible energetically and you literally have that feeling that you want to have a shower, okay, go have the shower. Okay.
That's
Because the
right.
wonderful
Right.
thing, yeah, the wonderful thing is that's exactly why. Okay. The wonderful thing about showers is it not only cleanses your physical body, but the act of showering also runs through all your aura, all your energetic bodies, which also helps to clean out all your energetic bodies. If you are out in nature, if you can go for a swim, awesome, even better. Water is magic. We're only just now finding out, and we don't even have a clue how great water is. Trust me, it's just like, it's an amazing thing. And it pulls all the stuff out of you, especially salt water. So ocean is best,
Mhm.
lake is good, shower is great. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you, in the summertime, this is honest truth. Usually have at least 2 showers, sometimes 3 showers if I'm not out and about and near a lake or an ocean or something. Yeah, I'll have like 3 showers, 2 or 3 showers a day.
Nice. Nice. And I'm just going to take a guess here that perhaps the bath isn't the best idea because even as the negative energy is
You're
leaving the
sitting.
body, now you're soaking in it.
Yes. You're
Yeah.
soaking in your I always say you're soaking in your own crap, both physically and energetically, because all the stuff from the outside of your body, the physical stuff is in the water, and also the energetic that the water's pulling out of your body, you're sitting in it. So what I suggest for baths is you shouldn't be so like because I every once in a while too, I like to have an Epsom salts bath or essential oils or something like that. You shouldn't be soaking in that bath any longer than 10 minutes. And whenever you have a bath, I don't care what kind of bath it is, you should pull the plug, stand there, and shower off before you get out of the tub. Okay.
Got it.
Always have a quick shower after you have a bath of any description. And honestly, you shouldn't be in a bath for any longer than 10 minutes. And don't get me to go into the horrors of public hot tubs.
I don't even want to touch that.
Even the physical side of it's bad enough, but if you want to look at the energetic side of it, my goodness.
No, and for those of you who are more rooted in science that are listening, and I want to remind you that literally everything is energy. And if you don't believe me, you can go back to Einstein.
Yeah, everything's energy.
E equals MC
We could
squared.
we could get into the sex talk too, but that's a whole nother
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. Mm, I do want to make sure that we're tapping in because you've already given us really great tips for tapping into our intuition, building that up, ways to regulate. And that's something that I'm finally hearing more and more people talk about that and having people help understand like, look, one of the reasons that stress is at an all time high, it's not just that fear messaging that's out there and
No.
polarization. It's because you aren't using your body the way it's intended. We're supposed to be in nature, out in lights. We're not supposed to have bright lights on in our house right up until the time we go to bed. We're ignoring what we were biologically meant to do.
Well,
It's
that's another thing you can
huge.
do, like, something simple, like, I do this I think every light switch in my home is now on a dimmer.
Nice.
So, as soon as the sun starts to go down, I start dimming all my lights. So by the time that I go to bed, there's very few it's very, very soft lighting. So it prepares you it's like gearing down on a motorcycle or in a car, it gears you down. Very, very important. I'm
Yep.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And during the winter, the other thing that I had heard about for years, but I never got one. I actually got one this winter because we had a very dark and rainy. We're always rainy on the West Coast, but it was extremely rainy this year. I got myself one of those happy lights, one of those sunlights, and it actually made a huge difference because we just didn't get the light that we normally get.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of little things like that that you can do for yourself. The other thing is music. I didn't really talk about that, but I have music, except of course when I'm with a client or with somebody lovely like you. I turn my music off. I always have music like meditation. I do a lot of those frequency musics. I do a lot of Indian chanting music, Tibetan bowls, all kinds of things. And I always have that all day slowly in the background.
Nice.
Okay, that is incredibly powerful because that affects you on so many levels. We don't even want to get started into that conversation. But that's it. See, there's so many simple things that people can do. And I'm going to tell you too, we'll get a little bit because I'm a science girl too. But I keep hearing all this crazy stuff and they're calling it adult ADHD. And you know what? That is nothing but stress. Okay. ADHD is a real thing for people. There's a chemical imbalance, okay? But the amount of people that have been diagnosed with ADHD is insane,
Yeah.
okay? Those people do not have chemical imbalances. What they have is stress imbalances and their symptoms are being caused by stress. And when I say stress, it can be all kinds of stress. It can be environmental stress, it can noise stress, it can be anxiety, it can be everything that we've talked about, okay? And all those are major, major, major stresses. And the biggest stressor is the lack these days because nobody's being taught how to self-regulate. And if you're not being taught how to self-regulate, you have no tools to use against the immense numbers and kinds of stress that we're all dealing with these days. Okay.
Yes. Oh,
So
yes.
quit labeling yourself with all this crap, especially if somebody starts throwing drugs at you for it. Okay. Because you should be trying, there's so many things that you modalities and things, simple things that you can do before you drugs are an absolute last resort, okay? There's some wonderful drugs out there that we should be very feeling blessed that we have, but most of it is
Yep.
and most of it causes more problems than it solves.
Yes, yes, thank you. I'm, like, over here going, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." Everything you're saying,
I'm
100%.
preaching to the choir.
Yes, yes. No, but I'm like, "Yes, please
Yeah.
continue, because
Oh, and it's
people to
important, and it's
understand this."
really important for children. Like, I find what's happening with kids now, and a lot of these diagnoses with children is simply because people don't want to bother actually working with children. So we're just going to medicate them and the power of the school and these teachers and stuff. And, I feel for the teachers because part of the issue is they have too many kids in their class and they simply don't have the bandwidth to deal with these kids one-on-one. But I can tell you, these kids do not need to be on all these drugs. The backlash from the adults that are going to be turned out from these kids who have been medicated since they were 5 is going to be horrific. I don't even want to think about it. My guy, I'm not spreading fear porn. I'm telling you this because forewarned is forearmed. Okay.
Yes,
My mother loved this saying. I heard this all the time when I was growing up. It's absolutely true. Where was I going with this? This is what happens to me.
that fear porn forewarned is forearmed.
Yeah.
Information that
We Yeah, the problems that are going to ensue from this are going to be nightmarish.
yeah.
They really are. Because what those drugs also do is they prevent the young children from learning how and from having any experience on how to self-regulate themselves because they're medicated. And adults, a lot of the same thing happens with alcohol and drugs,
Mhm.
okay, recreational drugs. And I've always been here, you heard it here. I was always throughout my life, I've been pretty uh 420 friendly.
Mhm.
Oh, do you know what I'm talking about? Is it
Totally. Yeah. I talk about cannabis on here all the time.
okay, okay.
Very 420
No, I know it
It
is
is for recording too.
okay. Yeah, it is 420. It's funny how that came up. I had a I had a very liberal view about that. My view has I've really clawed that back. I think used responsibly and used in a limited way is fine. But I know a lot of adults that who grew up in my generation who are still using it. And I tell you, if you're using it on a daily basis, and I know people who are using it on a daily basis, no. Again, it's the same problem. You're preventing yourself from learning how to self-regulate yourself. You're using it as a crutch. There's many uses for it. It should not be just like anything else, just like alcohol. Actually, I've actually redone my thing on alcohol too. God, I'm going to sound preachy today. But I used to think that alcohol in real moderation was fine. The more experience and the older I get, and the more I talk to my guides about it, because this wasn't something I usually brought up with them. Really, there is no safe amount of alcohol. Okay.
Yeah.
There really isn't. But I'll tell you, I'll be honest right now, I am not going to become a total non-drinker because I've been doing this for years, but I don't like beer, so I have cider. Okay, cider is kind of like my beer, and they have about the same amount of alcohol and wine. I haven't drank hard. I can't even remember the last time I had a hard alcohol. And I'll tell you something energetically that I was told very young about alcohol. Hard alcohol versus fermented alcohols. Fermented actually has a much more not that it's still alcohol. Okay, don't get me wrong in that. But it in terms of energetic frequency, it has a much more positive energetic frequency. Hard alcohol, distilled alcohol has a very, very negative energy frequency. Okay. So if you want to do anything to help yourself, quit, you know, kick all the hard alcohol, all the distilled stuff to the curb. If you want to drink, drink in moderation and only drink fermented products, which is wine, beer, and cider, basically. That's it.
Nice.
In terms of alcohol, I mean, in terms of with alcohol content. Or if you choose, become and there's a lot of people making that choice these days. Just don't drink at all. But I love my wine and I love my cider. So, but I very moderately, very, very, very moderately. And the way you moderate it, people say, well, how do you do that? I said, just make a rule. You can only, unless it's a really special occasion, the only time you can drink is, I say, Friday, Saturday night. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe on Sunday if
Like
you're something. That's how easy it is. We think all these things are really hard. Actually, there's actually very simple solutions to most of these things. That's also comes under the heading of self-regulation.
Yeah.
If you are And even coffee, okay, I'm gonna get real hate mail now. Even coffee, that's a stimulant. That's a huge stimulant. And anything actually any caffeinated beverage, and there's a lot of them now, okay, that have nothing to do with coffee. You gotta really restrict your I don't drink anything caffeinated anymore. Even my tea, like, I was never a coffee drinker, but I was a big tea drinker, and most of the teas that I would drink were the ones that were the highest in, caffeine.
Mhm.
And actually, a lot of people don't know this. Some teas are actually higher in caffeine than
Okay.
coffee is. Yeah, there's the black teas, the real strong teas, they're actually higher in caffeine than a lot of coffees are.
Did not know that. Good to know.
Yeah. See, there you learn something every day, okay?
You do.
But no, I only drink herbal, uh, teas without caffeine in them. That's all I drink. So
Nice. And that's I want to chime in here before we wrap up and about cannabis, alcohol and caffeine, and I applaud you. I'm on my way to going back to being caffeine free. I love my chai tea latte, and I with winter I tend to get a little less energy, and so I add like I literally give myself a 6-ounce measure of coffee that goes into my chai latte in the morning, and then I have this sugar-free chocolate that has ashwagandha in it that doesn't have any it has some steep.
yeah, I have some of
I
that
do
too,
a
yeah.
mocha chai latte and it's so good. But it's not a ton of caffeine, but I made the choice in 2018 when I was still disabled that I didn't want to drink anymore, or I was going to just take a year off initially because I had so much pain. I'm like I'm going to try anything.
Yeah,
And I realized actually that I had been depending on alcohol too much, and knowing myself, it was easier for me to just say, I'm not going to drink anymore. And so I
right.
haven't had a drink. It'll be 8 years in July. And I love that so many other people are not drinking anymore. Cause initially when I stopped, like the question was like, did you go through a program? I'm like, no, I just decided I didn't
I
want to drink. It was the first 90 days. I'm like, this shouldn't be this hard. You may have had an alcohol problem, Katie. And like, yeah, I kind of did
well,
now that I look
I
back.
gotta tell you, yeah, there's a lot of people out there with an alcohol that wouldn't be necessarily clinically classed as alcoholic, but they have a serious and at one point, I would say that I did too. I can remember even with my wine, like way back when I was still working in corporate, like there was a time when every single night I would come home and the first thing that I would do when I got home, or pretty much after I'd peeled out of my suit and got into my comfortable clothes, I'd be pouring myself a glass of wine. And I tell you, it's nothing. And, it's nothing to sit there and go through in an evening. Like if you start drinking when you walk in the door, it's nothing to go through an entire bottle of wine on your own in one evening.
Oh yeah.
So what stopped me is one time I went and I started looking through my debit card and it was like wine store, wine store, wine store, wine. And I went, holy, I really didn't realize how much money, and it was an astronomical figure, by the way, per month that I was actually spending on wine. And it's not even the money was bad enough, but then I started thinking about, God, I am drinking the vast majority of that wine because Tim didn't drink wine. He was a beer drinker. So it was like, oh, and I'm consuming all that wine.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
easy to do. It's easy to do. That's all I'm saying. It's
And it's
really,
socially acceptable too. So no one's going to really tell you like the guy at the liquor store isn't going to be like you shouldn't buy that. Like no one's going to stop you.
oh
Like
God,
I'll
no.
have that moment where I'll notice a cocktail near checkout and I'm like I could drink anytime I want to. I don't want to. It's
Yeah.
now sobriety is more of my identity than having a drink. But I do want to touch on the cannabis thing because you mentioned
You.
something that was really important is like our body actually has an endocannabinoid system in it.
Yeah.
And when we utilize that properly with therapeutic doses, which by the way, you cannot get in a dispensary because most doses are actually higher than what you need. So you're blasting your receptors and giving yourself too much, which makes you feel high, which feels really good. But when you actually take it in a therapeutic way, and I only know one person that knows how to do that, and the vast majority of the cannabis is CBD, not necessarily THCA, which is the active psychedelic form.
Yeah.
And that is the stuff that I take daily. I'll be totally honest, I do still like to have recreational, to have like a little bit in the evening sometimes. but the therapeutic is every day. But when it's therapeutic, there's no psychoactive side effects. So I take
Well, and you're also
in the
talking about
morning and then,
microdose.
yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about microdosing too. That's very, very different.
Well,
And well, you're mainly doing CBD.
right, but my nighttime dose for THC to sleep, and I was born with
Both.
a
Yeah.
sleeping disorder, so I actually take 10 milligrams at night, but again, I'm not high. It makes me
Yeah.
tired, and I actually have a higher dose than most people, and again, that's due to the sleeping disorder I was born with, that I've done tons of nervous system work to a point where I can even have that regulated sleep even though the THC does still help. But what's beautiful is when you got the right dose, as your body acclimates, you walk off the dose. Like there'll be a time in the future where 10 milligrams, I'm waking up going, oh my God, I'm hungover.
Yeah.
That's the time to drop it down to 8. So my body will tell me when I don't need it as much. And that's a big difference between recreational use and numbing, escaping using a crutch,
Oh, yeah,
using something as a
exactly.
supplement.
Yeah. 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 And oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not pooing on anybody's parade, but yeah. It's really honestly, it's for me, the important thing is awareness.
Yes.
Because if you're not doing if you, we do so many things unconsciously, and if you're doing anything, I don't care what it is. If you're doing anything unconsciously, then you got an issue. Doing something and you're consciously aware of it and you know what's going on and you know the fact of that you're using it as a crutch or as a supplement to numb yourself out because the whole thing is about being present,
Yeah.
okay? And this is the problem. All these things, drugs, alcohol, some people sex and gambling, we could go on and on and on. Because if you I don't care what you're using, if you're numbing yourself out, there's a real issue. There's a problem, okay? Because what we need to be is not numbed out, we need to be fully aware and present. And a lot of people can't handle that. And it's because they don't know how to self-regulate. Because if you're in the proper state, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. You are at peace within yourself. And a lot of people, they look at me and they go, "Yeah, right." I
No,
don't believe that's possible. It
it so is.
absolutely is. Trust me.
Feels so good to get there too.
Yeah, it feels so good to get there.
Yeah, look, I could talk to you all day, but I want to put a nice bow on this really fun conversation. And please tell the listener where they can find you, Laura.
Probably the best place to find out more information about me is on my website, which is www.spiritspeaks2, the number 2.me. Or you can, if you want to set up an appointment or consultation or something, you can just email me. It's super simple. It's just laurahorwig@gmail.com. And I know that the lovely Katie is going to have all my in the show notes because I'm all over Facebook. I'm on Insta. I do a little bit on X. I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm not hard to find. Let's just put it that way.
Good. Yeah. And we'll make sure all your social links, your email, your website, everything is out there so that the person is like, oh my God, I need Laura's help. And I just want to acknowledge your level of skill and your like so many times in this conversation, I'm like, she's reading my energy. She's reading my energy. So I just want to
That's what I
acknowledge like
do.
you're definitely gifted in there. Like I felt like a lot of it you were talking to me. So just thank you so much, Laura.
Welcome, and thank you for you got great energy too. And I love talking to people with great energy, and especially when we connect really well. So that's great. And
Yeah, this has
you've
been
got a good following too. You've got a good. I can feel the energy of your followers and your people who listen to your show. So that's a really good energy too.
I get to work with the coolest people. Love,
Yeah,
love, love the people who come to work with me to yeah, I agree. They have the best energy. They are some of the coolest people I could ever hope to know.
awesome.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank
we'll have
you
to
for
do
being a part.
three,
Okay, I think we will. I think we will.
but that means we have to do 4.0 too, because you
Well, let's wrap our 2.0 for now and we'll leave
okay.
everything for later. But thank you so much for joining me, Laura. And thank you to the listener who has joined me. I know you have your choice of so much to listen there to out there on the web. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. And I encourage you to implement something that Laura talked about today into your life, whether it is one of the regulation techniques, meditation, start to ask your guides for signs, whatever that is for you. Just take one step from this podcast, integrate it into your life, and see what changes. And until next time, please be well.
Thanks for being here on the Catapult Effect podcast. If today's episode supported you, share it with another leader who's ready to create more ease in how they build, and leave a review so more heart-led leaders can find these conversations. You don't have to do everything yourself. When the right systems are in place, inside and out, business gets lighter. Until next time, protect your capacity.